Yeah, baby. Bum 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 bum. Good morning and welcome to this edition of the Vision Alignment Show, where we all understand we all have blindness in our lives. If we can understand our blindness, if we can understand our blind spots, and sometimes take those blinders off, we can see the world around us and we can see the impact we're having on the world. But sometimes we need to put those blinders on. And putting those blinders on, it helps us to focus on our vision, because all we can see is our vision. And it's important to understand if our vision is connected to our core beliefs, our core values, our core strengths, then we're going to be much more successful. We're going to be much more happy in our daily lives. And we're going to know that we are doing what we are meant to do. I can't tell you how important that all is for us all to understand. We've got a great show lined up for you for today. We've got more shows lined up for you in the future. So stay right there. And as always, I love you and I'm glad you're on. Talk to you soon. And we're back. Thank you for joining me. This is awesome. Wow, what a day. I'll tell you, we've got a lot lined up for you, and we're going to talk about that at the end, but this morning has already started off phenomenally. You know, we've had a great conversation with a good friend of mine. I had breakfast in person with someone. Wow, how crazy is that? A good friend of mine, Dave Capleton, came and picked me up because I'm not driving anymore. And he took me to the restaurant and we had a nice, very nice, relaxing meal. We talked. We just had a great time. So I can't thank Dave enough for doing that for me. And hopefully he got something out of it as well. But I'm just so glad that we had a chance to spend some time together and talk. And not more than just talk, but we listened. And that was probably the best part of this, of listening and hearing what he had to say. And, you know, I think it was just a great experience for both of us to be able to get out and to be with other people and to have breakfast together. So that was phenomenal. So I had definitely a good time at breakfast. So let's talk a little bit about what we have to talk about today. But before we do that, I'm going to say hello to some of the people that are online. And there's Ted Legal. Good morning, Ted. It's good seeing you this morning. It's awesome. Great having you on. And then there's my friend Mark. Good morning, Mark. Good to see you live from Ohio, not from Wisconsin today. That's awesome. I'm so glad to see you on. We've got a great show lined up for you. And I'm looking forward to sharing more goodness with all of you. So that's how I kicked this off. Is I talked about my breakfast and how important it was to have a good breakfast, but not the breakfast, not the food. It was really the conversation that allowed me to enjoy a good breakfast. So that was phenomenal. Oh, and somebody else is on here. Jane, good morning, Jane. It's good seeing you this morning. Awesome. Now, also, if you would, please put in a hashtag of live if you're listening live, and let me know where you're coming in from. Also, if you're listening to this on replay, put in hashtag replay and share this video out with as many people on your timeline as you can possibly think of. That's how we make this community larger and begin to have more and more people understand what's going on in their lives and how they can make sure that their vision is aligned with their core beliefs. So that's really great to be able to have as much people as you can share as possible. And I got a big request for you, and this is new. Nah, it's not new. I ask this every time. But if you would, put in your timeline a picture of you winking. And when you wink, I want you to think, this guy over here, meaning me, knows what makes him unique. And it's not my eye. What makes me unique is my positive personality and how I'm able to share my story with other people in order to have a lasting impact on their lives. So that's what makes me unique. So if I know what makes me unique and it's not my eye, I wonder what makes you unique. Because if you can figure out what makes you unique, then you can do something with that to change someone else's life for the better. So thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for putting and by the way, you'll be entered into a raffle to win a free signed copy of my book. Sometimes it does take a brain surgeon. So we've got more books coming after this. Working on that now, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. More people have joined on. Let's see here. My friend Jeff Young from Namaste from sunny Columbus, Ohio. Gotta love it. Thank you very much for joining in. And my friend Randall Reeder, Breakfast of Champions. Yeah, absolutely. Any breakfast with Dave is Breakfast of Champions. So he's a great friend, as you know. And then hashtag alive from Signet, Ohio. Thank you very much, Rhonda. It's good to see you on this morning. And then there's my friend Ted again. Thank you. McHenry Northwestern Medicine Hospital. I thought you'd got another hospital, Ted. I'm so sorry to hear you're back in. And then there's my friend Linda. Thank you, Linda. Hopefully you and Greg are doing well. It's good to see you. Oh, you're going to get my book on Amazon. Well, I'll tell you what. If you give me your address there, Jane, I would be willing to send you a free copy and put it in your timeline, a picture of you winking. But I would be willing to send you a free copy, no charge. So if you want to do that, that's great. So, wow. This breakfast we had this morning, Dave, he doesn't do this on purpose. He's such a well-rounded, well-spoken guy, and he's funny, as you all know, because if you've listened to this show before, Dave is a friend of the show. But he said one thing at this breakfast, and I'm like, wow, mic drop. I mean, that is worth writing down. So I got out my notebook, and I wrote this quote down. Because we were talking about how important it is to listen to other people and to know what other people are saying, obviously. But and there's a lot going on with this from a social unrest perspective, and government is part of this as well. So there's a lot going on with listening and doing something with what we hear. Well, Dave said something to me that I just thought was great. And what he said was, listening is not really listening if you're not willing to accept or to change based on what you hear. Listening is not listening unless you're willing to change based on what you hear. I mean, that's great. Very, very true. And I don't think I've ever heard that saying before. So I'm attributing it to Dave Caperton. If Dave's listening today, hopefully you are. I'd love to hear from you as well. So thank you for the quote. So that was great. Boy, but what else? In terms of having a breakfast with Dave and talking about life and in the speaking world that we both live in. Obviously, not everybody on this call is a speaker, but you've all been impacted by speakers, I'm sure, when you've heard the different different keynote expressions or speeches, we have those impact moments. And I think that's really important to understand. For one, how important it is to just get together and have breakfast with somebody. Get together, have a cup of coffee. I mean, it's been too long since we ever had a chance to do that. But tell me, if you would, in the chat box, what is something you've learned from somebody in the last 24 hours? What is something that you've heard and you thought, man, that makes a lot of sense. I should do something with that. Or, man, I should really think about making a change in my life in that regard. Or, man, I wonder what else I should be doing with my life. So please, if you would, let me know in the chat box what has changed your thinking in the last 24 hours. So let's see here. Ted, what do you have to say? What makes me unique is my ability to come back from tough times. Man, I'll tell you what, you've had your share of tough times, buddy. And I hope you're coming back in deep strides because you've got a lot going on. So that's awesome. The back spasm really bad. That's why you're back in the hospital. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. So thank you very much, Ted. Thanks for joining in the conversation here. So tell me, what have you learned in the last 24 hours that has helped you to change your mind about something, that has helped you to focus on something else, that has helped you to begin to understand how important it is? Well, I'll leave it at that. So let me know in the comment box about that. So you all know that I don't see that well anymore. I had another brain bleed back in November of 2020, our favorite year. But when that brain bleed happened, I lost more of my eyesight. I think my left eye is less open than it usually is. And I don't know, there's something about my right eye that's impacted as well. Maybe it's the numbness, the numbness or whatever is going on with my face. Because as you know, my tongue is also numb, and I have a little bit more of a speech impediment than what I had before. All those things kind of go into what it is I talk about, how I'm able to adapt and adopt all those things that have happened and do that with a smile on my face. But I want to make sure that you feel inspired. You feel as though something you've heard or something you've learned over the last 24 hours has helped to make a change in your life. So again, excuse me, tell me a little bit more about what that is. I'd appreciate hearing from you. Now, then what else? What else? I wanted to talk to you about how important it is, because getting out and having breakfast with Dave this morning, it really just set my world on fire, because I got to dress up. I got all these nice clothes on. I even tucked my shirt in, and I put shoes on, crazy stuff. But I got outside and I'm like, man, it just feels so much different. And I've been outside in the past, year and a half, but it wasn't like this morning. It was with a friend, and it was with somebody I'd not seen in a year and a half personally. I had to shake his hand. So having the ability to do that, really, it allowed me to get out of what I put myself into. And what I put myself into, I thought was a groove, because doing these shows has really been helpful for me to meet new people, to learn more about what other people are going through. But I've gotten myself into a rut, so that groove had been worn and worn and worn, and it got to a point where it was a rut. But getting out with Dave this morning and having a conversation, it just liberated me. It felt so good. So I want you to experience that as well. If you can feel liberated by something like that, having a conversation with somebody, just my good friend Randall here, he brought me some firewood about a week ago, and getting to shake his hand and to see him, even if it was just for a brief few minutes, man, it felt so good to see someone else. So I want to make sure that you're doing that as well. You're getting out, you're meeting new people, even if it's online. You got to start somewhere. So I want to make sure that you continue to do that. So to get out of that groove, and it's gonna become a rut. And once you form a rut, then you get to a point where you have more negative experiences. And I don't want you to have negative experiences. I want you to have positive experiences. I want you to live the life you are meant to live. So thank you so much for that. What else do we have here? Let's see. Oh, my good buddy Wes. Hey, Wes, how are you this morning? You learned from a friend that brains aren't meant to bleed. You know, I've heard that. Awesome talking with you yesterday. Thank you, Wes. I appreciate you. Ted Lego says, my wife pointed out that I need to handle my adversity a little better. But not by not putting pressure on myself about things you can't control. That's a good point, Ted. I mean, there is so much that I get stressed out about, and it makes no sense why I get stressed about it. I don't know why. Well, I know why. Because I want to make sure that I'm providing for my family. I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. I need to have some source of income. So I get stressed out about these speeches that I'm trying to get set up. Well, I realize that there's a pandemic and there aren't as many speeches to be had as what there was before. So I've gone back to concentrating on how can I make my current speech better? How can I do what I can with what I have? I know I have 2 speeches lined up for this year, and hopefully I'll have more, but what if I don't? I need to make those 2 the best speeches ever and see where things go from there. You know, you just never know. Let's see here. What else? Wes. Huh. Yeah. Ted, feel better, man. Yeah. Have a dynamite day. Thanks for that, Wes. I love how this community comes together and pulls for each other. Isn't it great? I'm just so thankful for all of you being here with me. So let's see. What else did I want to make sure we talked about? Really understanding how you don't want to fall into a rut. And I want to talk about, at least I would like for you to understand where I am in regards to getting out of that rut. So getting out of the rut started with having a breakfast this morning. And having that breakfast this morning just changed everything for me. So I want to have something like that for you. If I can do something like that for you, whether it's a phone call or maybe a personal talk with you over a Zoom call or whatever the case, I'd be happy to do that. I would love to do that. So anything that I can do to help you would be phenomenal. If there's anything that along those lines, please let me know. Let's see. That's really all I had for you this morning. If there's ever anything else that I can do for you, I hope you let me know. I hope you continue to reach out and just I don't know. It's just great. So what a great community. I'm appreciative of all you. Thankful that you're here, and I'm just hoping that you always keep one eye on the road. Talk to you soon.